had better technique standing up and on the ground. Now you can't say enough about how good Randy is standing up now. So many people think he's the better on the ground, and he uses that to his advantage time and time again. Everyone underestimates his stand-up and overestimates his groundwork. So he always has the advantage of beating up the guy standing up, and then even though he is one of the best ground fighters going, he gets a much stronger advantage by having a weakened opponent on the ground from his hard punches and kicks. So that gives him a complete new ground game advantage. If you can beat someone standing up, which I really hate to see time and time again in every UFC fight, you always have an advantage over the guy on the ground, because they are only on the ground because you knocked them on the ground and you overwhelmed them. After you beat them up, you knock them down. A hard right cross is a much better start to a good ground game than an armbar. Number 4, Coleman forgot what made him a champion before. His wrestling background, his wrestling and takedown skills. Just like so many UFC fighters today, they forget what got them to be champions. In Coleman's case, it was always his takedowns, his wrestling skills, and his submission and ground and pound. But now, he suddenly decides that he's going to be a stand-up fighter. Or what I like to call him, a bad boxer. And he decides to stay standing up with a better boxer. This is a mistake made time and time again by UFC fighters, and especially new MMA fighters. Use your strengths. Use what got you the job to start with. Before you decide to become Muhammad Ali, why not stay the U.S. wrestling champion and win the fight on the ground? Coleman forgot to take Randy down, and when they did go to the ground, he was too weak to do anything about it because he'd been beat to the ground. And that gave Randy an extreme advantage and an easy finish. When your head is rocking from hard stand-up, your body will be shocking from the ground and pound. Now here's the number 5th and probably the most important reason Coleman lost. The UFC knew Coleman couldn't win the big fight. That is why they scheduled him to fight Tito Ortiz. The UFC had originally scheduled Coleman to fight Ortiz to give Ortiz an easy victory to set up a big fight, possible rematch with Liddell. But injuries got in the way, and Coleman was picked to fight Couture instead. This gave Randy an easy victory. Now don't get me wrong. There was not a fix. Coleman could have won the fight. Anything can happen in the ring. But he was picked for both fights to give the other guy an easy victory. Any smart manager does that. He wants to give his fighters easy wins and easy paydays. This sets up the big fights and the huge paydays. Coleman wasn't picked to fight Ortiz with the hope and prayer that he would win and set up a big fight. Big fight with who? No one cares about Mark Coleman. They care about Tito Ortiz. He gets butts in the seats, he creates controversy, and he makes for huge ratings. Coleman never did any of that, and certainly doesn't do it now. And that is why he was originally picked to fight Tito Ortiz. To lose the fight. Not because he was told to lose the fight, but because they knew that Coleman could not beat Ortiz. And they certainly knew he had no chance against Couture. The UFC hype machine made the fight seem exciting, when all the time they knew that there would be no contest. And that's smart. Smart managers, smart companies know how to pick fights and fighters, and they know how to hype a fight and a fighter. Coleman could have won, don't get me wrong, but the smart money was on Ortiz and Couture. The UFC is a business, a big money business, and they know what they are doing. When they picked Coleman to fight Ortiz, it wasn't because they wanted him to beat Ortiz. It was to give Ortiz a boost for some more big-time UFC fights. So, those are the 5 reasons why Mark Coleman lost to Randy Couture. Love to hear your comments. And once again, I want to point out that I'm right on my prediction that Randy would win, keeping my winning average at 96%. This is Grandmaster Gambardella. I'll see you next time.